Welcome to the Alameda County Closed Pod Training Module. If you are viewing this video, it is because your organization is considering or has initiated plans to operate their own point of dispensing site or pod site in case of a public health emergency. This type of pod is only for the members of your organization and their families. It is not open to the public and is called a closed pod. In the event of an emergency, such as a bioterrorism anthrax attack, the Alameda County Public Health Department would immediately begin delivering life-saving medications to 100% of our population within a 48-hour period. This is called mass prophylaxis. There are two types of mass prophylaxis dispensing sites, open and closed. Open pods are the public health dispensing sites that are open to the public. Closed pods are the dispensing sites for critical infrastructure such as hospitals, special districts, and large businesses. As you can imagine, mass prophylaxis to the 1.6 million Alameda County residents takes considerable effort and resources. Most of the population will be given medicine in public pods. However, some select agencies and private organizations with pre-trained staff may more efficiently provide medications to their staff family members, and/or clients and patients. Staff at a closed pod site can provide organizations and their employees quicker access to life-saving medications during a public health emergency. This not only helps relieve some of the pressure on open pods by supplying part of the population independently, but also allows those organizations to remain in operation. Agencies serving large populations with limited access, like hospitals, retirement communities, or essential businesses like the U.S. Post Office, are examples of organizations that might consider their own closed pod operations. To qualify as a closed pod, you must first partner with the Alameda County Public Health Department to develop an approved closed pod plan. Then you must train and maintain pod workers and resources to carry out that plan. This video should be used as part of the process of preparing your organization's pod staff. In addition to fire drills and other emergency drills, you should run tabletop and functional exercises for the closed pod. If you have not already done so, this is a good opportunity to introduce the Incident Command System to your staff. The Incident Command System, or ICS, is the nationally mandated system for all emergency response. This is a requirement of operating a closed pod because it allows you to easily coordinate with public health, police, fire, and even national emergency response operations. In the event of a public health disaster, you'll be notified by automated phone system, such as AC Alert or Phone Tree, if the phones are working. If not, you may need to listen to the radio, TV, or social media for instructions. As a pod worker, you have a central role in making the pod successful by carrying out the essential activity of dispensing medications quickly. The most extreme case, and the standard for which we train, is bioterrorism anthrax attack. Anthrax is not contagious. Illness comes only from direct contact with anthrax spores, but illness occurs rapidly. In an anthrax attack, the maximum window for emergency treatment is around 48 hours after exposure, so time is critical. Once an event is identified and the Strategic National Stockpile is activated, pallets of antibiotic medications will arrive at the state within 12 hours. These will immediately be shipped to the local Alameda County warehouse. Closed pods are responsible for picking up their own medication shipments from the county warehouse. At the same time, closed pods should be activating their pod plans and getting staff ready to distribute medications as soon as they arrive. Here's how the process works. First, you will be notified by the Alameda County Public Health Department to activate your closed pod plan. Your primary on-site coordinator will confirm the activation message and also confirm the size of the dispensing population that you will serve. The Alameda County Public Health Department needs to know how many people you plan to dispense medications to. Most agencies plan to dispense medication to both the agency's staff and the staff's family members. Next, you will activate your pod, beginning with notifying your agency's closed pod workers, who will then quickly assemble at the location of your pod site according to your plan. Your closed pod workers will set up the pod. Your trained command team should immediately deploy into their ICS roles and provide a briefing and sign in the pod workers, who will begin operating your pod. This will include just-in-time training and job action sheets for all of the pod staff. At this time, your logistics team will arrange to pick up the medication from the county warehouse. By the time the medication arrives, your closed pod should be fully staffed and prepared to immediately begin dispensing. Distribution for staff and families is done using the head of household method. All family members do not need to visit the pod to receive medication. Instead, each staff member should designate one family member to meet them at the closed pod to pick up medication for the whole family. So, a woman working at the closed pod over the next few hours might elect for her husband to come to the pod to collect medication and take it home for the rest of the family. That way, there is no delay. The initial medication is a bottle containing a 10-day supply of antibiotics. These need to be started as soon as possible. The full preventative treatment for anthrax requires 60 days of continuous antibiotics, and the entire process takes weeks to complete. Pod staff should be the first to get dosed as soon as medications arrive. Immediately following delivery of all of the 10-day bottles of medicine, larger 50-day bottles of medicine should become available. Once again, logistics will have to arrange to pick up the 50-day supply from the county warehouse. Closed pods are expected to handle distribution of supplies to cover the entire 60 days. Most of a closed pod staff will be working in the operations section distributing medication. The pod process is meant to be fast and simple. 4 simple steps. Fill out a form. Have it reviewed for life-threatening allergies or complications. Receive medication. And turn in your form with name and medication listed together. In order to ensure safe use of medications, people will have to fill out patient information forms identifying allergies and other medical concerns. Be aware that in unusual emergency circumstances, the Public Health Department may dispense with forms altogether. The patient information forms provide basic safety for allergies and other medical conditions that are pre-diagnosed. However, if a patient information form reveals a life-threatening complication, that person will need to seek professional medical consultation. Contact the Alameda Public Health Department for guidance in such instances. Patient information forms will vary depending on the incident. For anthrax, one person can pick up medication for others, so the forms allow for multi-person pickup. In contrast, if injectable vaccines are required, only those with medical certification can administer the medication, and only those who show up in person can receive it. Closed pod operations staff are responsible for reviewing the patient information forms and handing out the medicine. In an anthrax emergency, medicine comes in the form of pills or liquid and can be pre-bagged into adult and child dosages. Child bags should have oral syringes included. Crushing instructions are also available for those with trouble swallowing. The form's reviewer quickly checks the screening form and directs people to receive the appropriate medication. The top of the form is the doxycycline section. Most people will be given doxycycline, which will be indicated by all no answers in step 1. Some questions also screen for pediatric dosing and swallowing difficulties. Previously, pediatric suspensions were to be reconstituted at the pod by staff. However, the guidance has changed to allow parents and guardians to reconstitute the suspensions at home using tap water. Under the latest guidance, everyone, except rare cases with life-threatening allergies, should begin emergency doxy or Cipro medication as soon as possible, because exposure to anthrax is far worse than mild allergic reactions. For those few individuals who do have life-threatening allergies to both doxy and Cipro, alternative prescriptions are available. If your pod has a licensed doctor as a medical consultant, they can write prescriptions. If you fear life-threatening allergies and do not have a licensed medical consultant, your pod staff should immediately contact the public health department or the client's primary care provider for a prescription. Anyone presenting as ill, especially from possible anthrax exposure, as well as any other life-threatening emergencies, should be considered a 911 call and will be transported to a healthcare facility. After clients receive their medications, their forms will be collected. Remember that patient forms are considered confidential and must be kept secure. The last area in your closed pod is the question and answer area. There will be a massive public information campaign to assist you, but anything you cannot answer or address by handing out printed material should be referred to personal physicians or official online sites. The one question you should already know the answer to is, how long do I need to keep taking the medication? The answer, as with all antibiotics, take all the antibiotics as directed. For each 10-day bottle of antibiotics, each person must take the antibiotics for a full 10 days. For a 50-day bottle of antibiotics, the full cycle is every day for 50 days. Another question that is common is, what side effects are serious enough that I should go to a doctor? The answer: any side effect that forces you not to take your medicine is serious enough for you to consult or visit your doctor. Once clients pass Q&A, they're essentially finished with the pod. Be aware that this may be a stressful situation for some, including pod workers who should make sure to take breaks, eat, and hydrate regularly. Also remember that emergencies are unpredictable by nature, and your role in the pod may change to adapt to the situation. As a member of the closed pod staff, you're a key helper in providing your family, co-workers, and clients with life-saving medication. We hope this information has been helpful. The knowledge you gain in training and preparing for emergencies can be adapted to many situations. Even if you're not deployed in an anthrax scenario, you should be better able to integrate your skills for the benefit of others. The Alameda County Public Health Department thanks you for watching this presentation. Advanced training for station leaders, command staff, and individual ICS sections is available in other modules. Your participation and continued training for public health disasters helps ensure that we're as ready as we can be when our citizens and our communities need us. This pod video series was brought to you by the Alameda County Public Health Department, Office of Public Health Emergency Preparedness, in collaboration with Applied Creative Training.